So good evening, Kushal.
Yeah.
Welcome to Jam with Sam, and this is the 22nd episode of the Indian Networker.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I was going through a LinkedIn profile. You've really moved up the ladder in high-profile companies. Tell us briefly about it. It's a long journey, you know.
Sure.
So if you can just start, how did you start off? And
So I think the journey has been, very fulfilling. I think, humble to say, I think I had the first, most, caring, convincing people to sort of put me in the space that I belonged in the industry about 20 years back, and fondest memories of those people. And I think they told me the tricks of the trade in terms of the nuances, the politics of sort of working in large corporates, and the fact of almost being having that, hunger and passion to work every single day, like every new day. Which means that I think the whole thing of make sure that when you get to work, just go with the passion to at least get out and do something nice and have that smile with you. I mean, there's no point of just pushing yourself because you're getting a salary from that place. So it's been a long journey from that place to where I belong now. But the journey has been of turns and twists but yes, the constant has been media. So I started my years with digital media right from 95, 96 to almost now. I think we were just talking, in fact, 2 days back, I think 15th of August was the day when India finished 20 years of being digitized. Yeah. And I've been with that curve for almost that entire span as well. So I've had the fortune to be with large companies like the Times of India Group. I've been with Reliance in its avatar about 12 years back and back to it, in fact, now as well. But yes, I think in this process, I've learned, 3 different facets or roles of being a marketer or a client, and therefore what goes around to doing the marketing of every consumer service or customer product which you get out in the market for. I've also been a hardcore seller, which means that I've started my days trying to sell media, and media right from a newspaper to a magazine to I've sold every possible medium in the country, and never had the feeling of saying, wow, you know what, at the end of the day, you really couldn't sell still. To the fact of almost saying that, you know what, you could play that agent between being the client and being someone who's actually owning the property, which is the agency, perhaps the most abused word, because agents are not really seen too well. And I have a fortunate client as well who is right here hearing me as well. So yes, so we played different roles, but I think the role that I play today is more of a marketer and an agent. And I think it gives me great ability to play those 2 roles beautifully, because yes, I like doing one thing, which is give the dynamics to a large group the ability to look at what they should do within digital. At the same time, being an agency, I try to be on my toes of what's really happening new. And I think that's the thing which we need to keep looking at, because the world is changing so fast. Yep. We didn't know 3 years back what WhatsApp was. We didn't know, for example, 2 years back what Snapchat was. We didn't know 1 year back what Twitter was. We didn't know some years back what X, what Y was. And it's just rampantly growing. I'm sure, Sam, about 2 years from now, for example, when you're doing your 300th show, you'd probably not exchange such tags, and you'd probably greet one another in some other manner, because you'll have a robo coming in the room as well. And you'll probably have some other RFID mechanism to exchange greetings to one another, even the whole invite process. So I think we're living in interesting times. Fortunately, the government is moving in the same direction as well. So yeah, I think it's been fulfilling for sure.
So among all the places you work for,
right,
which are the top 3 you like?
The top 3, I think, honestly, I think the first and my second job, and I think that would be true for most, I don't know in terms of what people would agree or not agree with in this room, is that it's when you start your entire process of being either on your own as an entrepreneur or even in your first job, you typically make your first friends for life. After a certain age of being 28, 30, the whole competitive streak comes in, the whole thing of, top-notching one another, trying to boost one, all of those things start playing such a large role in your life that it's never friendship. You'll end up going and drinking, you'll end up guzzling 10 beers, but those will never become your friends. So I think my first 2 jobs are clearly the closest to me. And beyond that, I think the role that I played with Havas, which is a French company. So I was leading their operations for Southeast Asia. So I represented them in terms of managing digital marketing and media across almost every even small country within the region. So I was responsive to set up an office in Colombo. I was responsible to set up an office in Pakistan, responsible to put up an office in Singapore, Malaysia, China. So the whole sort of seeing the way those few markets, and I think a lot of us sitting in this room would almost have this whole thing of, maybe I think the whole, I don't know what the right word is, but we would dread sometimes to say, how can we go to Colombo? Or how can we go there? God. And I still remember when I was supposed to go there, my dad was like, are you sure? Take God knows what with you, some precaution. I said, what, Dad, it's just another country. And it's just, because everyone, we think we live in this sort of psychosis in terms of, it's a country which is going to sort of, I think, just kill you and all that. So it was fulfilling in terms of sort of being there, setting up an office there as well. We ran the office for some time too. But that experience is a lifetime because I think working cross-culturally with people with different ethnicities, and I was reporting also to global bosses. So they gave me a fair, open space to work at. So I think, yeah, I would put that as a third.
Okay. So which is the company you enjoyed the most in terms of work culture?
In terms of work culture, I would perhaps think it was my second company, which was at rediff.com. So I was in the founding team. I can still put, I think, still memories. When I joined that place, I was actually out of the team of Rediffusion, which is an agency. I don't know how many of you guys know Rediffusion, DYNR.
Rediff.com.
Yeah. But Rediff.com was taken from that sort of agency as a business to start. And when we joined, we were exactly 14 people, including 2 peons. It's just, the story is that the 2 peons and the founders will continue, but of course others have moved their own paths, of course. But it's just great memories because we started working from a flat tucked into a corner of Kemp's Corner, sort of 1 BHK converted into like an office. And those are the good old days of people didn't know what .com was. And I still remember, having to go with my boss to the biggest marketers in the country, the Citibank, the Unilever, and God knows what. And that time, what we were doing is we were trying to tell them, try and make a www.com for yourself, which means get a website done for you, and we'll do it for you. So we had a rate card in place. You want 4 pages plus this plus that, it'll cost you this. You want 5 pages HTML, this will cost you this. You want video, this will cost you this. So it sounds really funny and archaic right now, but even in those days, sort of I think it was perhaps the fact of sort of just meeting with the most senior people, because when you meant to sort of pitch for this business, the likes of someone at a Taj Hotels, or the likes of someone at Nation Paints, or a J&J, and we practically worked with every marketer in the country. So at that time, and I still remember I was barely about 22, I felt fortunate to perhaps just even meet with the CXOs of all those companies. I don't think today, perhaps at 22 or 23, individuals would get that. And I had that freedom, and because the fact was so important, right? Because it was the chairman who said, I'm making a website. It's got to be, that's my page for the company. And I'm talking about 20 years back or 18 years back. So he was like, the green should be pastel green. It should have, at that time, they had all their whims and fancies. You should have music playing. I still remember some people say, there should be violin music coming on. Suddenly the light should dim. People would say, in the morning it should look like this, in the afternoon it should look like that, and at night it should look like this. And we used to sort of even go with their ideas because we were sort of saying, yes, we'll just work for you and let's just do it. So life has changed. It's come full circle to the fact of being responsive and, opening up platforms. So sort of the same website should open up on your mobile and your tablet, and I'm sure your watch now and your belt and your shoes and God knows what very soon.
So Rediff was a good place to work.
It was.
Okay.
In fact, we defined our own culture, right? So I'm saying culture was what we brought. And I don't think we ever believed in the fact that, hey, this is Sitaram, he's making sandwiches, he's the peon, and he was Ajit, he's the founder. We were at parity. We were doing the same job, everyone. The ambition was to say, let's make this company the first .com of the country. I think we established that as well, and I still remember with my boss, I flew exactly after 4.5 years. I also remember putting up the national flag in the United States, and we were the first company getting listed on the NASDAQ. So, kudos to Mr. Balakrishnan for sure.
Okay, tell us something about WWO, Worldwide Open.
Sure.
And how is it different from other so many agencies and all over it?
I'll be honest about that at least. Okay. So the offering which I do take care of within sort of Reliance as a group is that we essentially thought that a brand like Mudra Communications was created about 35 years back. I'm sure some of you guys know that brand. So ambition was to sort of create another brand for the group to essentially help the group to be able to be sort of well poised to take care of all their technology, digital marketing, their brand, their communication strat. But the ambition was that, hey, you know what? Mudra took about 30 years to get valuation, and DDB put in X number of multiple, sort of, I think, X some dollars to sort of, I think, give it some space. And so the brief given to me by the sort of people who recruited me was that, you know what? Do that magic wand for us in 2 years. So I'm like almost at pressure of every month because, we finished X number of months, and they're saying, you know what? Have you now begun to attract foreign talent because you've already sort of been doing that? So within, I think, it's been about a year and 5 months of our existence. Initially, I think the challenges were to change ecosystem internally, which means I'm sure a lot of you marketers internally do realize that sort of, I think, working in a large group, I can't just shackle what they were already doing.
Yeah.
I may get the blessing of the chairman's office to say, you know what, create and incubate this division. But the fact is, I have to work around a CEO, a CXO, a CTO of all companies to say, hey, work with us. And they've got something else going with someone else already. So it was still, you've got to pitch and influence every marketer to say, you know what, we're capable, we're good. So convincing them took its own turn. We don't really work for the overall group still. We work in bits and parts in some businesses. But yeah, I think what we've begun to sort of do is because of the vision of the company to sort of work with other marketers. So we've been aggressively trying to sort of, I think, get out. And yes, I can see some faces. I'm going to sort of now come back to you, Sanjeev, saying, do you have some money in your pockets? Please give me some. So yeah, so I'm happy to sort of, I think, always throw out my visiting card saying I can give you a service and, we can get paid for it. But yeah, so the ambition is, of course, is to sort of offer our services in the landscape. We're not doing anything rampantly different from what someone else honestly is doing. But I think what we're perhaps being able to build is that we're trying to tell people that, hey, you know what? The average age of the team which we have is about 24, 25. I think that not even 24, that 22-year-old, the first guy who's actually come like a trainee in my office, perhaps knows at least 4 times more than me because he is more completely hands-on. Meaning today, for example, I forgot to tell him, you know what? He would have been the one breaking the news to me on WhatsApp saying, you know what, sir, FTI, something happened last night. I would have sort of seen that maybe about an hour later on Twitter myself. But he would be the first one already spamming me on WhatsApp as a group, which we have a group as well, saying this is what happened. So they're just constantly, because that generation Y, which is what we're discussing right now, is they don't sleep. Because of them, we don't sleep as well. Because we're just in that space of having our, and of course, was just saying that their gyms are open 24 hours as well, which means that you're clearly saying no one should sleep. And we've got a lot of people who say, you know what, we should sleep X number of hours. But I think our lifestyles are changing so fast and all of that. So yes, coming back to in terms of, yes, what's the sort of, I think, differentiator? Not really much different, but I think what we want to offer is the ability to tell a marketer that, hey, we've got the youngest, sharpest minds working for you. Or perhaps just the fact of saying, and I personally believe that at the end of the day, I think every communication is now going to actually happen through that device who we sort of almost think is our sort of wife, husband, partner, spouse, because we don't leave him or her. Meaning, if you don't have him or her in your pocket, you feel like, oh God, I've missed something. But if your wife is tucked in somewhere, or your husband, it's okay. She's there at home. He's there at home. But he's most important. He's at my heart. If I keep the pocket there. So if your mobile phone is here or right closest to you. So we think that, yes, from that perspective, we think mobile first for brand, because that's where I think you should go.
Absolutely. You love to travel.
Yeah.
I keep half of the photographs. I mean, I think 80% of photographs all with the travel photographs over there.
I don't know. I just said, even right now, it's just that home is far away from where I sort of work or even get to. So I spend most of my time, therefore, while commuting, getting my emails done, my social, and I'm just hyperactive on social as well. So I was thinking, how many of you guys probably follow me on some platforms? I'm just, constantly just spamming their walls and their lines and their sort of feed with stuff on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or what have you. So that's what I sort of do. But yes, travel is something which I do believe that I think at some stage when I'm just, and I think I'm going to retire very early as well. So when I do, the only thing which I want to do is, I believe that every place must be seen with your own eyes and with a camera with you. So just get out there and watch it. And even India has got so much to see. So it's not about just getting out and watching the Grand Canyon. If you can't really go there, just go to Mahabaleshwar. Equally beautiful.
Which is your favorite destination?
Wow, it's a tough one, Sam. It's really tough, really tough. But I can tell you from the spaces that I've been to recently, I think I'm just amazed with Paris.
Paris.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what's your favorite platform? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn?
Tough one to put, right? Because all of them serve different purposes. So I could say that I spend more time with this, but if I was to ask you to answer that question, I think I like Twitter the most.
Okay.
For the simple reason that I think apart from being able to, in less than 140 or 140 words, try and speak my voice, I'm actually connected with the world. And I know exactly what's really happening where and some stuff. So I think that's the platform because, when something is to sort of break in, good, bad, or ugly. For example, when something happened in Thailand 2 days back, we were first told that, hey, you know what? The world has taken a storm, and the riots and the blasts in Thailand, so let's pray. So that happens first on that platform. So I think I think the way, today I'm sure all of you guys have read, for example, that valuation of BuzzFeed, 200 million, right? What does BuzzFeed do? It just crawls the internet, just puts out news out there, but it's basically just, it's doing what Twitter would do, but it's just calling itself a new avatar, and wow, the largest media company put 200 million to sort of acquire them.
I didn't read that. I think I was busy.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you feel about LinkedIn?
It's a great space for people who want to get jobs. I get spammed every day. I need to sort of, I think almost now I've figured out, what, I must keep an assistant to only manage my inbox on LinkedIn because I feel good about going. So as a vocation, I like to sort of, I think, just be with young minds. So in the free time, I go to various colleges, so the IITs, so the IIMs, and many, many places to go and teach at. So the moment you go there, you suddenly get exposed to 400 fresh new faces, and the next 2 hours, you suddenly get all of them putting you in invites. And after that, they spam you saying, sir, can you give me advice of this? And I'm like, holy cow, when you sort of, well, I was right there. You could have just done questioning there itself. Now you're sort of almost like, you're inboxing me that. So I practically take at least an hour every day just doing a postman's job, just cleaning and not even replying, just cleaning my inbox. So yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to, I think, but I think even the algorithm and the entire platform is changing so fast that I think we get good updates on that platform as well. So which means from a business perspective or from a networking perspective, and since we're discussing networking in this conference, I think it's a great space for people even from different industries to get to know one another, right? Because I wouldn't know out here, say for example, that even someone would be into, say, health or fitness, or someone is into stock trading, or someone is into jewelry, or someone's into something else. But hey, you know what, if someone just puts me maybe a relevant invite, and I can see them once I have them as friends, it's just growing to my own learning curve.
So do you connect with everyone who sends you a request on Facebook?
No, no. Okay. Not on Facebook, not on LinkedIn, not on...
What's your criteria on Facebook?
What's my criteria for, or whatever? Wow, tough one again. Well, I think I'm coming to that limit very soon. For example, so all of us know that there's a limit of 5,000 people. Yeah. So I'm getting there very soon. Suddenly I'm going to have my own page and I'm going to knock off. So I've not done that, but I think I'm going to take a stance one full day to say, let me try and remove a lot of my people that I don't want. So maybe at least, thankfully, I won't get to that level. But yeah, I think I've got to that level of being a little selective about who I choose on Facebook, for sure. Yeah. So there's no criterion. As long as that person, whoever is perhaps sending me a request, I just at least try and look, the easiest thing what the algorithm is that how many close people do you have? The moment I know that what he or she has at least about 100, 200 people similar, and of course that is one, but I think the first is, yes, do I know the person? I don't accept anyone who I don't know now. Very clear. You want to do that maybe on LinkedIn perhaps, that even if I've just forgotten you for the fact of getting old and my hair is getting sort of out of my head as well, is that perhaps LinkedIn I'll still accept, but on Facebook I won't.
Perfect. What platform should professionals and small business? A lot of us are professionals and we're from small businesses.
Sure.
Which is the platform you think we should go to?
So I can definitely sort of, I think, try and talk a lot about LinkedIn because I've sort of, in fact, recently, when I was in fact in California, and I actually had the fortune to see their office, in fact, in sort of Silicon Valley as well, that they're doing a lot of good things, especially for India. And I think we're second to the US in terms of just the number of people on LinkedIn now. So I think for someone who is even an SME, right, I think the opportunity for him to connect and do business is just fantabulous. I would really wish and urge everyone to perhaps try and get a premium account. It doesn't cost too much at all. So someone, who's at least a businessman and he sort of at least equates money being spent to returns. It costs about, at the lowest level, about 2,400 rupees for about a month. You can make n number of, I think, personal invites to people who you think you would want to sort of do. And I think today, for example, people have become more receptive to replying back as well. So I think as Indians, and that's more an Indian trait. Like I've seen that today, for example, when I try to sort of write into someone who I don't know at all, and he's perhaps German, he would take either too long to reply if he doesn't know me at all, or perhaps he would not even reply. But Indians being Indians, we still like to just go and hug everyone and sort of just shake a hand and all of that. We sort of, anyone who you don't even know, you'll at least tell him either, you'll make some conversation. So I would certainly say that yes, get out, and because that's the only professional space right now. So from a networking thing, I don't think there have been a couple of Indian startups which have tried to sort of do like a LinkedIn sort of a replica. Doesn't work. I think we've tried doing that for Facebook as well. The company that I work with right now tried to do that 6 years back with a big Gadda, but it's a disaster. You really can't try and ape what is already sort of, I think, it's become medicine for us, right? Sort of today, for example, if you haven't had, for example, maybe a calcium tablet, or you haven't done that at a certain age, it's as good as saying you haven't checked your Facebook or LinkedIn today. So it's as good as that.
Okay, something about your family.
Yeah, so I've been living with mom and dad. So I think they're people who sort of, I think put me to this world, and I have great admiration for them. I have an older sister who's been perhaps in similar sort of spaces. She works in the creative space as well. I've been married very recently, about 2 years back. So I think given the space of the industry which I sort of am in, or perhaps just the fact of saying, it's okay, a guy can get married a little late. I wouldn't necessarily give that advice freely to everyone. But yeah, someone who's wanted to get married too early, I'd say, take a chill, because you're anyways going to get domesticated. So get out of there and have some more beers and take the right time to get married, because then suddenly you've got to have beers with your wife or make her beers as well. So take that stance very clear in terms of what time you want to get married for sure. But yeah, I think I did get that a little late though in my sort of innings.
Okay. Yeah. I was just wondering, because there was just one photograph of you on Facebook.
Sure.
I was wondering, is this his wife or is it someone else over there? But I said, no, that looks like a proper Jodi over there.
Sure.
So I decided to be brave and put up that photo over there. Okay, whom do you admire as an entrepreneur?
Whom do I admire as an entrepreneur? So I think I've read a lot of books of Steve. And I'm sure the world is, a lot of people do admire him a lot. But I think what drives me to sort of, look at him so closely is the fact of he just had the vision to change and disrupt working of other companies. So it's not about what he created in terms of launching, say, for example, the iPod. It's not about creating something what he did in terms of doing the iPhone. But what his vision was is to sort of, shut down the music industry. Put down Kodak. Meaning that's the vision. It's not about sort of saying that, hey, I'm going to give you. And of course, then the obsession with every American and every Indian now to own that brand. So no matter what's said and done, when, that's the only day in September, and we've got that coming up again. In September, when a conference happens, when, sort of Apple launches new products, the world sits out. You have no idea if you guys, I don't know how many of you guys are Apple fans, but Twitter is sort of almost even Twitter would want to shut down. They want people just voraciously talking about Apple. It's not funny. So what he did was, I think, very early for its time, but it was more a fact of sort of giving us something that we wanted or we desired. And I don't know, having sort of Steve sort of moved on, of course, lots of different things get spoken in terms of what Tim would do now and what successors would do now. But I think perhaps that passion, if that's the word to say, that what was there with, sort of Apple then, I don't know whether we'll see that happening, because the watch has been launched, but there is not
so
a huge line out there saying the black strap is sold or the silver steel is sold. You get it available. But for example, when the iPod was launched first time and when the iPhone 5 and whatever, I'm saying you have to wait. People in sort of, I think in US waited for they got up in the morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and they stood up in lines for 7 hours just to say that I want to be the first 100th customer to buy it. So that's the sort of, I think, fascination which sort of I like about Steve.
Fantastic. Okay, now you're with Quick Gun Sam. One witty answer. Okay, so Narendra.
I hope it's not one of those Kejo sessions and
No,
you're
no,
going to
no,
give me
don't worry.
sort of this or that, this or that, this or that.
No.
Okay.
I'm not that mean, like.
Okay. So just throw me Hitler.
That was there on your Facebook, like, so.
Okay.
Narendra Modi.
A little confused now. Was a firm admirer of his vision and thinking maybe about 2 years ago. But I'm just wondering in terms of, are we seeing change? And it's not about him just sort of being in different countries at different times of the year, but are we actually sort of witnessing? So I think he's doing a lot of things. He's launching so many new initiatives, but at fundamental grassroots, I can't work for someone. I can't have someone at the end of the month try and decide which day of the month he should give me my salary check. I'd rather earn that for myself. So yes, at some stage, would want to do that for sure.
Okay. A word of advice to all the young entrepreneurs over here. We are all 26 something, don't worry.
Okay. Well, pretty much 21 then.
Okay.
Okay. So I think there's nothing in the rule book today. I think businesses are getting closed down and started out and closed down and started out. So let's not live in this make-believe world that everything is fine. Live in a state of being in a mad rush to live every moment and do it tomorrow and today and as of now. If you have a thing that, you know what, I'll start this 3 years from now, it's not going to happen. It's like almost saying, I'll have a child 2 years from now and you don't know in that 2 years what will happen as well. So it's clearly the fact that if you have a dream, if you have the vision or if something, just get out and pick that loan and start it now. Or if you can't, then meet people who can perhaps enable you in this stuff. Or if you're culturally, your DNA is such that, you know what, I'm that guy who sort of, I think, I've got ideas, but you know what, I can't take that risk. Then have the balls to go and discuss that risk with at least your 2 best friends. Maybe someone has the money who can put to you itself. But do it. So don't, and I've seen a lot of people struggle because they perhaps are under threat to say, you know what, shit, I can't sort of, I think, discuss this business plan with someone. Meaning if you're going to keep it stifled inside you, you'll be on perhaps, I don't know when, you'll sort of never give it shape or life. So just do it, but that's if you really have the vision to sort of become an entrepreneur. Otherwise, be happy to work, but there's nothing like a 9-to-5 job for a lot of people who think that, you know what, an ICICI bank and God knows what, and some other sort of government bank and some other platform is sort of yet whatever cushy. So yes, there must be 1 in 100 who still believe that, but I think, yeah, so be an entrepreneur. You don't need to, I think, perhaps even work for someone then. And the good thing is, I think India is coming around to sort of say, you know what, now you can work flexible hours, you can work through your laptop, you can work through your mobile, you can work through that. So that's really changing. And especially, I think, the complexity of our country is such that I think even if you would want to sort of do as much, like for example, we have a linear city. Just to sort of just travel from one to the other is just so difficult, unlike, for example, if you're working in an Ahmedabad or Delhi, where you're sort of in just round circles. Not that Delhi is any better. There's just its own sort of share of nightmares there in Ahmedabad as well. But it's just that, yeah, the point is that I'm trying to make is that, if, for example, you want to do things, time is a factor as well. So just don't wait for time to get over.
So you know how both of us met? Guess where?
I can't remember. I'm getting old.
Foursquare check-in.
Ah,
You used
fantastic.
to keep on checking in Churchgate over there.
Oh, yes.
And Foursquare says, like, you check in 2 times, you become the mayor of that place. So at one time, I was the mayor of so many places, people thought I'll become the mayor of Mumbai also. So unfortunately, they split that, and now it's Foursquare. I think it's like practically gone now.
Yeah, so Foursquare is not a location check-in place any longer. So the good old fantasy which we had of sort of, I think, becoming mayors and sort of, feeling good about sort of almost sort of, yes, dethroning, if I did dethrone you from Churchgate
Yes.
or what have you, I can't do that any longer. It's more a recommendation engine now. So if you've got Foursquare on your phone, it's like a recommendation, tips and whatever. And of course, they've got Swarm now. You can still check into Swarm.
But that's not working.
So it's not really working as well.
Kushal, thank you so much. It was fun having you.
Super.
Thank you so much. So that's a special.
Okay. What's it for? Coffee, tea, or
Coffee,
beer?
tea, anything.
Okay.
Beer, I don't think anybody's had so far on this.
Thank you.
And this is a special spa kit,
Okay.
courtesy Sanjeev Mehta. He owns Spa Salon,
Okay.
which is he'll tell you more about it later. So you can pamper yourself or maybe your wife. Wife or yourself? Both? Ideally the wife, okay. They require pampering. So that's for you.
Thanks, Sanjeev.
That's for you, and that goes on the Facebook page, no? So you
Okay.
get more likes for that over there. Chalo, thank you so much. Thank
I
you
should
so
get to meet Kirtika. Have you met her?
No.
So Kirtika heads Facebook for India. I'm sure she'd be sort of most happy to sort of, I think, sort of seeing the sort of likes that all of us sort of, we cringe on likes, but I'm sure she's, yeah, I'll get to meet her.
Chalo, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. That's the power of networking.
Sure.